Hi, this is Pokemon and welcome to my challenge video. For today's challenge, it's going to be a bit of a simpler one. I am going to be beating Pokemon FireRed, but with only Pokemon that I have never used before, or Pokemon that I do not like using in battle. And the rules to this are extremely simple. I can only use Pokemon that I have either never used, or I do not like using, and for a bit more of a challenge, I'm not going to be using items in battle. So with that being said, let's get started. So we start off with Professor Oak as always, and then we pick our gender, and then I just go with Anne again, because why not? And then we name our rival Green, and then we finally get started. So then we talk to Professor Oak, and then we go back to his lab, and then we get to pick our starter. And I was wondering what to do with this, but I decided to go with Squirtle. I do like Squirtle, do not get me wrong. I just do not pick water types at the beginning of the game. I never have. I always pick a grass type or a fire type. I don't like picking water type because there's always like a diverse option in games for water types, so I just go with that instead of the starter. So that's what I did. And then we fight our rival, which I thought this was gonna be extremely easy because it's always easy. And then I realized it wasn't gonna be when a tackle barely did any damage, and then I end up going down in the first one, which kind of says how this challenge is gonna go. After that, we get the parcel from the stop guy, and then we give it back to Professor Oak, and then we're on our way on our journey, and we can catch our very first Pokemon, Rattata. I don't like Rattata. They kind of annoy me when they pop up, and I don't think they're that useful. So it was the perfect option, and I can get it early in the game, so I can train it up a bit. And I don't know what to name it. I wanted to name it like a certain meme, but I didn't want this video to get flagged, so I just named it Ew a Rat. Because that's what it is. It's a purple rat. It's not good. After that, we do some training in the Viridian Forest, which is pretty easy, and then we take on the gym. And with Squirtle, it's pretty easy. You can see I'm just bubbling everything and it's going down in one shot. Like, it's super simple. The Sandshrew was a bit of a challenge, but he didn't do any attack moves. And I didn't even go back and train. I'm like, well, it's pretty easy. I have Bubble. And it's just gonna take down the Pokemon no matter what. After that, I get to level 13, and then during the battle, I actually learn Water Gun, which this helps because, you know, Bubble isn't that great, and then I just one-shot the Onix with a Water Gun and get to level 14. So after we defeat Brock, we get the running shoes, and then we get to Mount Moon. And while we're in Mount Moon, my Squirtle evolved into a War Turtle, which is going to really help because it's stronger, obviously. And then we battled the lab guy, which has a Grimer, and I didn't know what to do with the Grimer, so I just used a bunch of water moves, and it worked. So then we get the Dome Fossil, and then we battle our rival again, which his Pidgeotto was a bit difficult. After that, the Bulbasaur, I changed back, and then I kept using Hyper Fang because it's actually a really good move, and I didn't realize how good it was. But then the Rattata fainted, and I used Bite, and I was kind of scared here because I only had 22 HP left. But he just took out an Abra and a Rattata, and then I just took him out easy. After that, I actually ran into a shiny Oddish. And this is only the second shiny I had ever run into. So I was obviously just freaking out, and I only had 2 Pokeballs left. I had no idea what to do here. I did not get any Pokeballs because I thought I had enough. I'm just lucky that I didn't have 0, and I was trying so hard not to. I didn't want to critical hit it, and then he went down there, so I was like, well, he's on yellow, so might as well just throw a Pokeball, see what happens. I threw it, and then he escapes. Now I only have 1 Pokeball left, and he absorbs me, and I'm just debating on what to do, because if I tackle it and it critical hits, then it's gone. Like, I can't use it anymore. Like, I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do, so I tackled it, and luckily it was on red. So I threw a Pokeball again, and I caught it. And I was freaking out. I could actually use an Oddish in this. I don't like using Oddishes in a play because I do not like its movesets. So I ended up using it, I traded it up a bit, and then I head to the gym. And since I just caught the Oddish, it's going to be actually really helpful in the gym because everyone knows that grass is super effective against water. And Absorb does get the job done on the first one. It took a bit, it wasn't a one-shot, But then when the Starmie came out, I was like, okay, this might not work as well, but I ended up getting it with 16 HP left. After that, my Oddish evolved into a Gloom, and I actually don't like the shiny look of this because it's just kind of a gross green, but hey, it's a shiny, who's complaining? So after that, I got on the SS Anne with a ticket that I got from Bill, and then after I did a lot of training, I went and battled my rival again, and he does his Pidgeotto again, and he uses a bunch of sand attacks, so I switch out to my Raticate, and I use Hyper Fang again, and while this happened, my Gloom learned Acid, which is going to really help us. And then I just kept using Hyper Fang because I learned that is actually a really good move. I just kind of used it a lot, even though it did have a chance of missing. And I got put to sleep, and I'm down. After that, I used my Gloom, and during this whole battle, he just kept putting me to sleep. But he didn't do much damage to my Gloom because, well, I'm a poison type, and he kept using poison moves. And after that, I took him down once I finally woke up, and then I finally got the move for Cut. After that, the SS Sand left the building, and then I went and battled the electric type gym. This one, I actually used Acid, and it worked great, which doesn't make sense to me, but you know, it worked. So I used Gloom to use Acid over and over again because it did decent damage. And I did get paralyzed, but I beat it anyway on my first try. After that, I get to the Rock Tunnel and then to Lavender Town. After that, I went straight to Celadon City and I went to the gym. And gym was a grass type, which was not really helpful with the moves that I had. So I just used Rat. I love that name, honestly. But the first Pokemon only left me at 3 HP. So I was down pretty quickly. So then I used Gloom to use Acid because Acid is really good with these Pokemon because most of them are also a poison type, so it really helped. But when this Pokemon came on, I was like, ooh, this might not be good. So I decided to use a bunch of sleep powders to put it to sleep so it wouldn't attack me when I did a good amount of damage. And of course it healed itself. So I just kept spamming sleep powder over and over like my rival did. So I'd be able to get it off, but Gloom ended up fainting. So I took out Squirt and he took him down easy. After that, I battled the Team Rocket leader and I took out my Gloom first and he took out Onix and I was like, okay, this is going to be pretty simple. So I used Absorb, he almost went down in one hit. There's a little bit of HP left. Then the Rhydon, I used Absorb again, he went down. Then the Kangaskhan. I hate Kangaskhan's. They're just powerful. I don't think I've ever used it. This was something I was thinking about using in this. You'll see if I use it or not. But I absolutely hate Kangaskhan's, but I ended up getting him down pretty quickly. After that, I get to the Pokemon Tower, and then I have to battle my rival once again. So I use Acid for Pidgeotto. Hopefully it works. I was at low HP, but it worked. And then after that, he took out Kadabra, got it in one hit. After the Gyarados, I used Hyper Fang once again. It took out almost half the health, but then it took me down. Then it took out my Gloom, used Absorb, and then, took it down again. Then he took out the Growlithe. I obviously took out Squirt, got him in one hit. And then the Ivysaur, I went back to Gloom and tried to use Acid, which did some damage, but not much. But he didn't really do much on the move, so I got him down easy as well. After that, I got to the top of the tower and then had to battle the last team rival guy, which he had a Zubat, took him down in one hit. And then another Zubat, took him down in 2 hits. Pretty easy. And then the Rattata, took him down in 1 hit. Easy. Raticate, took him down almost 1 hit. Easy. After that, I beat him. And then talked to the weird dude. Don't really know the purpose, but then got the Pokeflute. Then I headed to the Safari Zone to catch another Pokemon on our team, which is Scyther. This took me like an hour to get. It was stupid long. It was infuriating how long it took me to catch this. So I named her Too Long, because it took me too long to get this crap. Then I headed to the Silph, battled once again with the rival, and he had the Pidgeot now, which was difficult. This battle took me a couple tries to get, actually. After that, I took out my again, ew, a rat. He put me to sleep, and then I had to change Pokemon. I tried to use a Scyther, and it worked with a wing attack, actually. After that, I took out Squirt again, which had evolved into a Bulbasaur, by the way. You didn't see it, but it evolved. After that, with the Gyarados, I took out Gloom again. Hopefully it would work. I didn't know what to do here, so I tried using Absorb, and it didn't do anything. So I tried the Acid, and then I tried putting it to sleep, because I'm like, this isn't good. Then use Moonlight to get some of my health back. I tried to use the Sleep Powder again, but then I'm down again. So I take out my Scyther again. I use Wing Attack, and it goes down pretty easy. And then Alakazam, I don't worry about Alakazam. Its defense is not good. And then I just take him down easy, and then he's done. After this is that boss battle, which did take me a couple tries as well. I use Scyther again, which at first I thought Scyther was kind of bad, but after using him, I'm like, he's not that bad. He's not too bad. After that, I take out Squirt, one shot. Then I take out Ew, a rat for the Kangaskhan and use Hyper Fang over and over until I get him. But I faint. Then I'm debating on what to use here, so I take out the Gloom, and then I use Absorb, and then it's the Nidoqueen, which this is the one that I kept getting stuck on. So I kept using Wing Attack. Hopefully I wanted it to work. I got him down to low health, and then I get poisoned on the last one, but I ended up beating him anyway. After that, I talked to the guy and got the Master Ball. Then for the next gym, which is supposed to be the hardest gym in this game, according to a lot of people. I use Gloom, take the first one down in 2 hits. Then Mr. Mime actually took out my Gloom. Then I took out my Raticate, 1 hit with a Hyper Fang. Then the Venomoth, 1 hit with a Hyper Fang. And then I learned the move Super Fang, which is kind of helpful. Sort of. It's not as good as Hyper Fang in my opinion. Then the Alakazam, 1 hit again, and then it's done. This is the easiest gym battle that I had done so far. Next, I do the next gym. I do them back to back in this. And then the coughing came out. This one I'm worried about because when I ran into these, like with trainers, they weren't easy to fight because I didn't really have a type advantage against any of them. So this one, I know I did it on my first try just because I was a bit more higher leveled, I'd say, and I did have a lot of stupid luck. So I just kept using Wing Attack over and over with too long, but I did end up getting poisoned. After that, I get to a level 42 and then coughing, and I decided to change out to Squirt. And after that, I just kept using Bite over and over because that's all I could do, but I ended up getting poisoned again. And he's only had a little bit of health left, and he kept using a potion, which sucked. And after that, I tried to use Bite. He just kept lowering my efficiency. And then I gained XP, of course. And then the Weezing came out, which I was really worried about the Weezing because it's at a higher level than any of my other Pokemon. So he took Squirt down, and I decided to take out Ew, a rat. I just kept using Hyper Fang, and it did a lot more damage than I expected. And he goes down in 2 hits. And it's really easy, and I'm super surprised. I thought it'd take me multiple attempts, like the last one I tried to do. Then I go to the power plant and catch my second to last Pokemon, which is a Magnemite. I have never used a Magnemite in any game. I've played so many Pokemon games and I've never used it. Just because it's, in a lot of games, it's farther in the game and I've just never had any interest. There's always another electric type that I just want to use. So I just named it It's just, I've never really had an interest in using it, so And then after that, I actually get a Golduck, and I actually got a Psyduck first, evolved it a little bit to get to a Golduck, and then I traded for a Lickitung. I've never used a Lickitung, never had an interest in using a Lickitung, you get too late in the game. After that, I head to Cinnabar Island and go to the Pokemon Mansion, get the secret key for the gym, and then go and fight the gym, which is a Fire-type gym. My starter is Squirt. I have Surf. You know where this goes. I one-shot everything. Literally everything, except for this Arcanine, which got him in 2. It was super, super easy. After that, I go to this island, do all the stuff there, and then I head for the last gym. Which this gym, I couldn't tell when I walked in, like, what kind it was. It had been a while since I had actually played this game this far, so it was actually pretty easy. First was the Rhydon, got it in 1 hit with Magic Leaf. Use Magic Leaf again, 1 hit. After that, 1 hit again. And then I didn't know what to do with the Nidoqueen because Nidoqueens are pretty difficult in this game, but I ended up getting it with my Tulong. And then the Nidoking came out, and I actually got him with only 3 HP left, which is shocking to me. After that, we fight our rival for the second to last time. And his Pidgeot got my Gloom immediately, and then I took out Tulong. I didn't like him. I'm sorry if you like Lickitung, but I didn't like him. He was slow. After that, I took out the Rhydon came out, and then I took out Squirt, one hit again. Then I switched to the Raticate when the Venusaur came out, and I just keep using Hyper Fang over and over, which worked out. And then the Gyarados came out, and I didn't know what to do here again, so I just kept using Hyper Fang over and over. And with 10 HP, I managed to get by, and then Growlithe came out, used Surf, super easy. And then the Alakazam came out, and I didn't really know what to do here. And then I kept using Bite. I didn't know what moves to use here. I just kept forgetting, but I ended up getting him anyway. After that, we finally get to the Elite Four. And you can see I was kind of struggling. I forgot which way it was. But as you can see, I finally figured it out, and I got to the building. And then let's get started with this. So the very first one was the easiest. This was the very first time I'd actually used the Meditate either way. Like, I just trained it up and then didn't use it until this point. So I just kept using electric moves over and over because it's supposed to be ice, but there's not really an ice type. It's all water except for the Jinx. So it was pretty easy. There was a couple times where it did get the Magnemite out, but it didn't really do a problem. So when the Jinx came out, I didn't know what to do here because I was like, do I even have a type advantage for this? But I just kept using Bite over and over, but it did put me to sleep and it did attract me. But my moves weren't too good against him, but then I switched it out to Tulong, see if that worked. It did not. So I ended up taking out Mark. I couldn't change the name, didn't really bother with it. And then I beat him. And then the next gym was the fighting. This one was a bit more difficult. It did have 2 Onyxes, and at this point I realized, crap, I forgot to switch it out at the start like I meant to. So I switched it back. I didn't get too much damage done. And then I ended up using Rain Dance to try to boost up my water type moves. And then I ended up with 3 HP left, which sucked because I needed it for the other Onyx. So I take out Tulong, I use Wing Attack, one-shot it, and the Machamp is what gave me the most struggle. I think I tried this out 4 times, and the Machamp is what kept getting me. And after that, with the 3 HP, I ended up getting the Onyx because it ended up being faster. So the next one was also very difficult because I only had a few dark type moves. So I actually ended up putting the black belt on Squirt so that the Bite would have more of an effect, and it actually worked, but I did end up getting poisoned. But when Golbat came out, I switched to my Magnemite, and I know it's evolved, but I'm just still gonna call it a Magnemite because I just don't care. And then the Haunter came out, and I used electric types again, which actually really helped to surprise me. But then it put me to sleep, and I kept using Dream Eater, which I hate Dream Eater. But I will say, Gengar is my favorite Pokemon, so I'm not complaining. He's great. And then the Arbok came out, and I was scared because I didn't switch out, and I meant to. But I beat him anyway. Then comes Lance. This one did take me a couple tries as well, because I didn't have any ice moves. So I actually ended up getting an ice move from the casino place. I got Ice Beam, and I put it on Squirt. And it was super helpful. It just kept almost one-shotting everything. One-shot the first one, and then kept going. And actually, this was my first attempt at the Ice Beam, because I was experimenting with this run, seeing if Ice Beam would work. And it ended up working, but Squirt did end up dying. And after that, I took a Hyper Fang, and he went down in 1, which shocked me. So I only had 1 Pokemon left. I didn't know what to do, because I didn't expect to get this far, because I hadn't beaten this trainer yet. So once Aerodactyl came out, I used Ant, and then this was my first try battling this trainer, my very first try battling Red. So I went there, used Electric type move on Pidgeot, which is the very first time that I actually got this Pokemon one shot. And then the Arcanine came out, and I used Rain Dance, which I should not have done, but I did anyway. And then came the Venusaur, which I didn't know what to do here because he was powerful. But I just kept using Wing Attack with Tulong. It actually worked, and it didn't really use any moves that would attack me. So then when the Rhydon came out, I just kept using Surf. I was debating on using Rain Dance, but I ended up dying anyway. So after that, I took out my Vileplume, my shiny Vileplume, that I used a Leaf Stone, and it looks a lot better, I'll say that. Then Alakazam, I was kind of worried, but not really, just because the defense was really bad. So I decided to use Fear Cutter, see how that worked. It did not. So I used Wing Attack, and I was like, this is a bit better. But then I used Full Restore, and then I had 1 HP, and then it got me with Future Sight. After that, I took out I still think it's and I left with Red, but it's used Full Restore again. So I just kept using Spark, see if that worked. I just kept using Full Restore, but I ended up getting it paralyzed, and it went down. After that, the Gyarados came out, and I used Thunderbolt. And I beat the Elite Four. This was my very first attempt at battling Green as well. So I was in pure shock that I actually beat it this fast. So that was the challenge of beating Pokemon Fire Red, but with only Pokemon that I've never used and do not like using. This Pokemon challenge was actually kind of harder than I expected. I learned what I do like and I do not like. I would use the Magnemite again. I would use the Scyther again. I would not use the Lickitung again. As you can see, I did not take out that thing once during any of this battle, and I was fine with it. I actually taught it like 2 TM moves, and they both sucked. So I would not recommend using a Lickitung. Sorry if you like it, but I did not like using it. Eradicate and Rattata wasn't as bad as I thought. Hyper Fang did get me through a lot of this run, but it still wasn't that great. And Oddish, I mean, I'm glad I caught the shiny Oddish, but the move set is not that great. But with that being said, I have finally beat the Elite Four with this team. So I hope you liked the video. If you want, you can like and subscribe. I'm not forcing you to. But anyway, that's that. Hope you liked it.